Dark Catharan dreadnoughts glided through the void like blotting shadows across distant suns. Admiral Zexthul stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue world swell on the main viewer. His scaled fingers clenched the cold rail while his yellow eyes fixed on the third orbiting sphere around the local star. From here, Earth seemed serene and fragile. Another backward world to subdue. Zaxthal hissed at his second-in-command. "How many will this make, Veltar?" Commander Veltar flicked through his datapad. 412 worlds have fallen before our blades, Admiral. This will be 413. The Catharan Dominion had held the galaxy in iron for over 3,000 cycles. Every species they met either bent their knee at once or perished in futile resistance. Their energy lances could slice through known alloys. Their shields shrugged off barrages. Their faster-than-light cruisers crossed star lanes in days, while rivals drifted for months. Zexthal reviewed the scout reports about humanity. These beings still waged wars with crude chemical explosives and flying metal. They had barely reached their own moon. Their swiftest vessels crawled no faster than a child's toy. "Listen to their chatter," Veltar said, summoning intercepted human broadcasts. "They talk of peace and cooperation. They fritter away hours on art and amusements. They tend to the weak and ailing instead of consigning them to death." Both Catharians snorted. In their order, only the fit endured. The feeble were culled before they could tax the state. It was the right order of things. On Earth, Admiral Jake Morrison sat inside the emergency command bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The gray-haired officer stared at screens that displayed alien flotillas entering the outer system. His weathered hand trembled as he lifted his coffee mug. "How many ships are inbound?" Morrison asked. Dr. Lisa Carter pushed her glasses higher as she read from her tablet. "Our deep space optics count at least 50 large vessels. Each dwarfs our biggest aircraft carrier." Morrison had served 30 years in Earth's Navy. He had captained vessels through 3 separate conflicts. He grasped warfare and strategy, but nothing in his career had readied him for this. "What do we actually know about them?" Morrison asked. Commander Amy Walsh stepped forward with a thick dossier. "We label them Catharans per their radio signals. They're reptilian, roughly 7 feet tall. Their tech outstrips ours by about 5 centuries. Captain Ben Parker entered the command center still in his flight suit. The young pilot had been trialing Earth's newest interceptor when the alien armada showed up. His ordinarily bright face had gone sober. "Sir, I crunched the numbers," Parker said. "Our top fighters can scarcely match half the velocity of their slowest craft. Our missiles cannot breach their energy shields. Our cannons might as well be launching pebbles." Morrison inclined his head slowly. Earth's pooled armed forces amounted to 5 million troops, 10,000 aircraft, and 300 major ships. Against alien engineering, those figures were meaningless. Dr. Carter cleared her throat. "Admiral, there's more. We intercepted a directed transmission aimed at Earth. What did it contain?" "It was a surrender ultimatum. A templated demand. Apparently, they issue the same notice to other worlds: submit or be annihilated." Morrison rose and walked to the sprawling display that showed Earth from orbit. Cities glittered like constellations across continents. 7 billion humans lived below, oblivious that their age was about to end. "How long before they arrive?" Morrison asked. 3 days, sir. 3 days to brace for a war beyond hope." Morrison had read tales of David and Goliath. But even David carried a sling and stone. Humanity possessed nothing able to wound these invaders. In the void, Commander Veltar received reconnaissance updates from his scout flotillas. They had intercepted and destroyed a human transport near the red world the humans call Mars. The vessel carried mining rigs and supplies to a fledgling settlement. 23 colonists perished in the strike. "The humans sent distress calls," the scout captain reported. "They broadcast on primitive radio bands." Veltar snorted and set the message aside. "Every species emits pleas before extinction. It alters nothing." The Catharan war engine rolled on with inexorable force. Back on Earth, emergency councils convened in Capitol halls. Presidents and prime ministers, who had been adversaries days ago, now sat shoulder to shoulder planning a common defense. For the first time in recorded history, Earth's nations consented to unite. Morrison found himself in command not just of American fleets, but of the planet's combined military. Ships from every navy mast in Earth's seas. Fighter pilots of rival flags trained together. Scientists swapped their most guarded research. Dr. Carter burned midnight oil, analyzing the scant data on Catherian systems. She understood that energy shields and FTL drives defied current human theory. Yet the aliens wielded them muttered, scanning the same readouts for the 100th time. Every machine breaks. We just need to find where. Captain Parker drilled fresh recruits on Earth's most advanced jets. The F-35 Lightning was humanity's crown jewel, yet beside Catherian craft, it resembled a toy. Still, Parker drove his pilots harder than ever. We may not rival their machines, Parker told the formation, but we know these skies like no one else. Every cloud, every ridge, every trick of the air belongs to us. Commander Walsh was coordinating intelligence networks across the planet. Every satellite, every telescope, every sensor strained to collect scraps of data on the advancing foe. Humanity needed every detail possible about their enemy. By the second day, civilians began fleeing major cities. Families packed vehicles and streamed toward bunkers left from the Cold War. Parents clutched their children close and struggled to explain why their world had turned perilous overnight. Morrison watched the evacuation feeds with a burdened soul. These people relied on him for protection. Yet how could he resist an empire that had crushed 400 stars? When the third dawn came, Catherian warships pierced the solar frontier. Their abyssal hulls gleamed with nothing as they swept past the outer worlds. Soon they would descend upon Earth, and the struggle would ignite. Admiral Zethul bared his teeth while watching the human orb grow. In mere hours, he would record yet another conquest on his endless list. The humans would yield or burn, as had all the others. Yet deep under the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Morrison was completing his last plans. Earth's warriors might stand outgunned and outclassed, but surrender was never an option. Without surrender, the fate of humanity hinged on decisions made in the coming hours. The Catherian Armada penetrated Earth's outer atmosphere as dawn climbed over the Pacific. Admiral Zexel observed with cold pleasure as formations took station around the globe. His energy lances could raze any city in minutes. His shields would shrug off any crude weapon the humans could muster. Begin strikes on their orbital platforms, Zexel commanded. Obliterate their satellites and orbital stations first. The first Catherian beams slammed into Earth's defense platforms. Those enormous constructs detonated in searing blooms of light. Fragmented debris tumbled through the sky like falling stars. In under 10 minutes, humanity's foothold in space lay in ruin. Admiral Morrison watched the ruin from his underground command bunker. Each exploding platform embodied decades of human labor and countless dollars. Worse, each had sheltered dozens of brave souls who died for Earth. "All orbital assets are gone, sir," Commander Walsh reported. "We're blind above." Morrison curled his hands into fists. The invaders had stripped away humanity's eyes and ears in orbit. Now Earth's forces would fight blind, unable to track enemy movements. "Launch every fighter," Morrison barked. "Every aircraft we possess." Captain Parker was strapped into his F-35 Lightning when the directive hit his radio. Around the planet, thousands of pilots roared from air bases and carriers. They accepted near-certain death and flew anyway. Parker's squadron reached the front first. The Catherian warships resembled dark metal peaks suspended in the sky. Their energy banks carved the clouds like lethal spotlights. Human fighters that ventured too near simply winked out in curtains of superheated plasma. "This is Falcon Leader," Parker called over the net. "All units remain low and use cloud cover. Do not charge straight at them. Strike and withdraw." Human pilots trained for dogfights against their peers. Facing alien starships was wholly different. Their missiles detonated futilely against Catherian energy screens. Their cannons spat rounds that skittered off alien plating like raindrops. Yet Captain Parker observed a detail. When the Catherian batteries fired, their shields faltered for a heartbeat. Dr. Carter had been right. Every design carries a fault. "All units, listen," Parker transmitted. "Wait for them to fire at another, then strike during the shield flicker. We have only a 1-second window." The first effective human strike occurred 20 minutes into combat. Lieutenant Rick Davis timed it. When a Catherian cruiser shot at another pilot, he unleashed his missiles in the momentary shield lapse. The blasts tore open sections of the alien hull and disabled several weapons. Commander Veltar reeled as alarms screamed aboard his command ship. "How did those primitive missiles breach our shields?" His tech officer scanned readings. "Sir, Our shields drop for 0.7 seconds during primary weapon discharge. It's a design flaw we never detected because no foe endured long enough to exploit it. Veltar ground his teeth. These humans were meant to be backward and dim. How had they unearthed an oversight Catherine engineers missed? Dr. Carter watched all channels from her lab buried deep underground. When word of the shield fault reached her, she began plotting new strike methods. If human pilots could synchronize their attacks perfectly, they could actually damage the alien vessels. "Morrison, we have a chance," Carter said into the Admiral's line. The fighters located a weakness in their shield cycles, but timing must be flawless. Morrison moved without pause. "Walsh, patch me through to every fighter squadron. We're ordering a simultaneous assault." The next stage of the fight would be unlike any in human memory. Thousands of pilots from dozens of nations. On the tarmacs, ground crews worked to arm and fuel jets that were never meant for such attrition. Air traffic controllers and carrier deck chiefs improvised networks to vector tired pilots into those one-second opportunities. On the floors of command centers, linguists and technicians hacked at captured telemetry, coordinated with flawless timing. They waited for Catheran volleys to fire, then struck during the momentary shield lapse. Captain Parker accepted the most perilous task of the day. Recon had flagged the largest Catheran vessel as their command hub. If it fell, the entire armada might lose control. "This is a one-way strike," Parker told his chosen squadron. "We're going to ram that flagship with everything we've got." 12 fighters plunged straight for Admiral Zexthol's command dreadnought. Catheran energy beams ripped apart 11 before they closed the distance. Only Parker's lightning broke through the storm of fire. At the last instant, Parker punched his ejector seat. The empty jet crashed into the Catheran flagship's bridge and detonated inside its command nexus. The blast slew Commander Veltar and crippled core systems throughout the ship. Admiral Zexthol roared with rage as his vessel convulsed under internal detonations. Scarlet alarms wailed while damage reports cascaded. Half his senior staff lay dead, including his trusted deputy. How did one primitive craft inflict such devastation? Zexthol demanded. None of his shaken officers had an answer. Catheran vessels were engineered for duels with warships trading energy barrages. They were not designed for foes who embraced suicide tactics. Dr. Carter sifted through wreckage from fallen Catheran craft when she uncovered another revelation. The invaders used a radically different theory of armor. Their hulls carried formidable energy shields, yet beneath those fields their plating was strikingly weak. They had never faced an adversary wielding explosive ordnance. Carter deduced their armor resisted beams, not chemical detonations. The discovery shifted the entire war. Earth's nuclear stockpile might actually threaten Catheran vessels if strikes slipped past the shields. Morrison instantly began plotting a new offensive, harnessing humanity's most destructive arsenal. The first day of battle closed with unexpected outcomes. The Catherans had obliterated most of Earth's air forces and erased all orbital platforms, but they had also lost 12 capital ships and seen many more scarred. Most astonishing of all, humanity would not yield. Admiral Zexthol had assumed the primitives would bow once their military lay in ruins. Instead, intercepted transmissions revealed them still defiant, still rallying their people, still refusing extinction, readying themselves for more resistance. Cities not yet struck were evacuating citizens and reinforcing their defenses. "These humans act unlike any species we've subdued before," Zexathol's tactical officer reported. "Past foes yielded once their militaries collapsed. These creatures appear intent on continuing the fight here on Earth." Admiral Morrison was already mapping the next defensive stage. Captain Parker had survived his ejection and been recovered by friendly units. Dr. Carter led teams examining captured alien wreckage. Commander Walsh coordinated resistance networks spanning the globe. The humans had drawn 3 vital lessons from the opening clash. Catheran shields faltered briefly and could be exploited. Their plating was susceptible to chemical blasts. Most of all, the invaders had never encountered enemies willing to sacrifice themselves for victory. Morrison scanned casualty reports from the day's battles. Earth had lost over 3,000 pilots and 20,000 support staff. The cost of resistance is heavy, but surrender means the death of freedom. "They expect us to yield," Morrison told his officers. "They don't realize humans fight hardest when the cause looks hopeless." As darkness fell over scorched skies, both forces readied for fresh combat. The Catherians were bewildered and enraged by resistance they had not foreseen. Humanity was battered yet unbroken, already inventing new methods to wound their seemingly invincible foes. The galaxy's newest war had only begun. 3 months passed since that first battle, and Earth was unrecognizable. Each major city now contained underground networks linked to hidden armories. Schools were converted into training halls where teenagers learned to salvage alien technology. Farmers plowed their fields while clad in captured Catheran armor. Dr. Lisa Carter stood inside her new research complex, surrounded by fragments of destroyed alien vessels. Her engineers labored ceaselessly to decipher how Catheran systems worked. The breakthrough arrived when they realized the invaders harnessed a form of energy humans had only theorized. "We can replicate their shield arrays," Carter announced to Admiral Morrison during briefing. 6 weeks for the first prototype, but it's possible." Morrison allowed himself a rare smile. Earth's factories had already begun forging weapons blending human design with alien components. These hybrid missiles pierced Catheran defenses far better than human arms alone. Captain Ben Parker was training a new breed of pilots in the Colorado mountains. They were not conventional officers anymore. They were young men and women who had learned combat by facing aliens firsthand. Their tactics bore no resemblance to anything in Academy manuals. "Forget what you know about fair fights," Parker told the recruits. "The Catherans are stronger and faster than us, but they're also predictable." They followed patterns humans never did. Colonel Ryan Brooks led the riskiest missions deep behind enemy lines. His special operations team slipped into Cather-controlled zones to steal technology. Brooks himself had captured 3 alien officers and dozens of weapons. "The key is thinking like a human, not like a soldier," he told his men. "Soldiers follow rules. Humans do whatever it takes to live." Commander Amy Walsh had built a spy network across the solar system. Survivors hid on asteroids, moons, and destroyed space stations. From these secret outposts, they tracked enemy movements and sent intelligence back to Earth. Engineer Sophie Davis became perhaps the most vital figure of the war. Her teams could strip down Catherian tech and improve it within weeks. What took the aliens centuries to perfect, humans reshaped in months. "Their flaw is never adapting," Davis explained. "Every Cather ship uses the same shield frequency. Every weapon has the same output. They don't change, ever." The first major human victory came when Colonel Brooks struck a Catherian supply base on Jupiter's moon. The depot, thought safe, refueled ships and repaired damage. Disguised in stolen shuttles and armor, Brooks's team passed sensors undetected and walked right into the heart of the base. "Remember, we're not here to fight," Brooks whispered. "We're here to steal." For 6 hours, they copied files and photographed alien tech. They uncovered critical truths. The Cather supply chain was stretched thin, and news of human defiance was sparking rebellion across the galaxy. Other enslaved species were stirring. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Matt Johnson led recon into distant star systems using captured ships. He discovered the Catherians ruled not with loyalty, but with terror. Most subject races despised their overlords, yet had been too afraid to resist. "They're stunned we don't quit," Johnson reported. Every other species surrendered after a few defeats. They don't know what to do when an enemy grows stronger instead of weaker. Dr. Carter's team pushed further, crafting anti-Cather biological agents. The reptilian aliens proved vulnerable to Earth bacteria harmless to humans. "We don't want genocide," Carter told Morrison. "But if they won't leave peacefully, we need something to drive them out." The war's turning point came in the asteroid belt. Admiral Zathul had hidden his fleet among the rocks, assuming the field would shield them. Instead, humans weaponized the asteroids. Davis's fusion charges turned drifting stones into kinetic missiles. The explosions hurled massive chunks of rock into alien hulls at deadly speeds. "They're using the belt itself against us!" Zexthal roared as another ship tore apart. How did they learn so fast? Captain Parker led the fighter wing that ended the battle. His pilots used the asteroids as cover, striking from impossible angles. Enemy sensors failed to track them through the debris. "All fighters, this is our chance," Parker signaled. "Hit them while they're blind and scattered." 8 Cather ships fell. The rest fled in disarray. For the first time, the aliens abandoned their position without success. Walsh soon intercepted transmissions revealing panic among the Cather High Command. Admiral Zexthal was begging for reinforcements from home. Other commanders reported the same. Human resistance was spreading fear. "They're scared," Walsh told Morrison. "The Catherians have never faced an enemy that adapts this way." Quickly, the Catherians realized their usual tactics no longer worked. The war itself was shifting. Humans were no longer just defending Earth. They were hunting Cathar ships across the solar system. Small squadrons ambushed alien patrols, seizing weapons, fuel, and tech. Colonel Brooks established the first human stronghold beyond Earth on a captured Catherian space station. It became a training ground where humans mastered zero-gravity combat with alien gear. "We're not the same species we were 6 months ago," Brooks reflected. "War has remade us. We're sharper, harder, and more dangerous than we ever imagined." Engineer Davis unveiled her boldest achievement yet: the first human-built starship powered by copied Cathar technology. The vessel leapt faster than light and carried hybrid weapons deadlier than either species alone. Meanwhile, Dr. Carter's biological agents showed their worth during the assault on a Cathar ground base in Africa. Within hours, alien troops fell ill and could no longer fight. The base surrendered without a single shot fired. Admiral Morrison understood this marked a turning point. Humanity was no longer clinging to survival. They were seizing victories, driving the invaders back. "The enemy still thinks we're the same humans they met half a year ago," Morrison told his staff. "They don't realize we've changed. We're not prey anymore. We're predators." As the 4th month of war dawned, human forces prepared for their most daring operation yet. This time, they weren't defending Earth. They were taking the fight to the enemy. The war had shifted. Humanity was no longer waiting for the enemy. They were striking into Catharan territory. The hunters were becoming the hunted. 1 year after the invaders first reached Earth, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of mankind's first true interstellar warship. The vessel dwarfed every ship humans had ever built, powered by stolen alien tech and armed with weapons designed to erase entire fleets. "Set course for Proxima," Morrison ordered. "It's time to liberate our first alien world." The human fleet now numbered 50 hybrid starships, each crewed by soldiers hardened in space combat with captured enemy gear. These weren't the frightened survivors who had once watched Earth's skies burn. Dr. Lisa Carter had finished her most dangerous creation, a virus engineered to target only Catharan genetics. It could cripple their soldiers while leaving all others untouched. "We'll only use it if we must," Carter warned Morrison. "But if they threaten Earth's survival, we can end their species." Captain Ben Parker now commanded squadrons of faster-than-light fighters, his pilots drawn from every nation on Earth, and even liberated aliens who had once served as Catharan slaves. The resistance had become a galaxy-wide rebellion. Commander Amy Walsh's spy networks stretched across dozens of systems, reporting enemy movements through every channel of the fractured empire. "The Catharans are losing their grip," Walsh reported. "Worlds that were silent for centuries are in open revolt. They're pulling fleets from Earth just to hold their own empire together." Engineer Sophie Davis unveiled her masterpiece, Ghost Ships, vessels invisible to every known sensor. "We can strike anywhere in their territory," she explained. "They won't even know we're there until our guns open fire." Colonel Ryan Brooks led human special forces deep into enemy space, building hidden bases, training rebels, and arming them with human-forged weapons. The Catharan Empire was collapsing from within. The first offensive strike came at Wolf 359, a system the Catharans had held for over 1,000 years. Admiral Zexthal fortified it with his strongest fleets and defenses. "They cannot break us here," he told his officers. "This system has never fallen." He had no idea how far humanity had evolved. Davis's ghost ships slipped past his defenses, hitting the supply depots behind the fleet. Parker led the attack that obliterated 3 bases before the aliens even knew humans were in the system. Stranded without fuel or ammunition, the vaunted Catharan fleet collapsed. "All fighters Delta formation," Parker commanded his mixed squadron of human and alien pilots. "Show them what freedom looks like." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the entire defensive fleet was destroyed or captured. Zexthal fled in a shattered cruiser. his legend as an invincible commander broken forever. Lieutenant Matt Johnson uncovered a critical secret in captured databases. The Empire's fleets were coordinated through a single centralized command. "It's like cutting off the snake's head," he explained. "Destroy that hub and their fleets won't be able to fight together at all." Meanwhile, Carter's biological weapons broke the Catharan stronghold at Vega. Soldiers fell ill within hours, surrendering without resistance. Some commanders wanted to let them die, but Carter stood firm. "We're not monsters. We'll heal them, once they accept permanent peace." Walsh's spies provided constant intelligence, letting human forces anticipate enemy movements days in advance. Catharan fleets stumbled into ambush after ambush, unable to regain the initiative. The true turning point came when Parker intercepted chilling orders. Admiral Zexthol had been authorized to unleash a planet killer on Earth itself. "They're going to use a stellar destroyer," Parker reported grimly. "They'd rather erase our world than admit defeat. A weapon that could ignite Earth's sun, genocide on a galactic scale. The Catharans would rather erase humanity than admit defeat." Admiral Morrison immediately ordered the entire fleet to intercept the Doomsday vessel. The largest battle in galactic history was about to begin. While humanity prepared, Engineer Davis armed warships with weapons powerful enough to annihilate entire worlds. "If extinction is their game," she vowed grimly, "then humanity will play it better." Colonel Brooks launched uprisings on 50 Catharan worlds at once, forcing the enemy to split their strength. Enslaved species finally rose up with human training and weapons in hand. The final pursuit stretched from the Centauri system across half the galaxy. Admiral Zexthol's stellar destroyer was guarded by the last great Catharan fleet, but Morrison's forces hounded them relentlessly. Parker's fighters struck again and again, never allowing them near Earth. "This ends now," Morrison broadcast. "Surrender the weapon and we'll let your survivors return home. Refuse, and your species ends today." Zexthol answered with defiance, ordering his fleet to fight to the death. The climactic battle raged in the void between stars. Human and alien ships clashed with unimaginable firepower, the fate of countless worlds at stake. Captain Parker led the strike on the stellar destroyer. His squadron fought through impossible defenses, sacrificing themselves to reach the weapon's heart. Parker's final run detonated its power core, the blast flaring like a newborn star. "Parker's gone," Morrison whispered, watching Earth's savior vanish in light. But he finished it. Zexthol perished aboard his flagship, destroyed under the combined fire of human warships. With their chain of command shattered, the Catharan fleet broke and fled. After 3 millennia of dominance, their empire was collapsing. Carter's engineered virus spread unchecked, leaving enemy soldiers too sick to fight. "They're begging us for medical aid," Walsh reported. The war is over, yet Morrison knew this was only the beginning. Humanity now commanded the greatest arsenal in the galaxy. The question was what to do with it. 2 years after the first invasion, Morrison led a coalition fleet of 500 ships to the Catharan homeworld. Alien warriors who once enslaved entire species now cowered behind planetary shields. "All commanders," Morrison declared, "today we end the Catharan Empire. Let the galaxy see what happens when they threaten humanity." The Armada was more than human. It was every species once chained by the Catharans, united under human leadership. Carter stood aboard the flagship with her perfected virus, lethal only to Catharans. "One release will end them within weeks," she warned. "But once we do, there's no return." Morrison hesitated, torn between vengeance and mercy. Meanwhile, Davis's final generation ghost ships appeared inside the enemy's skies, their weapons locked on cities. "1 hour to surrender," Morrison broadcast. "Resist and your world burns." The High Council panicked. Some demanded death before submission, others pleaded for survival. At last, General Kexmore, their highest surviving officer, spoke. "The Catharan Empire formally surrenders." "We beg terms for our species," Morrison's reply was cold. "Surrender accepted. Your armies disband, your government dissolved. War crime trials will follow." Carter locked away her weapon, but ensured the Catharans knew it existed. "Remember," she broadcast, "we could have ended you. Never again dare enslave another world." Statues of Captain Ben Parker were raised across liberated planets. honoring the pilot who destroyed the stellar destroyer and saved Earth. When human and allied soldiers landed on the Catherine homeworld, they found only a broken, sickened people. Not a shot was fired. Brooks oversaw the peaceful occupation, converting palaces of tyranny into schools and hospitals. "It's over," he told Morrison. "Their empire is finished. Their people are under our protection." Walsh built vast communication networks linking free worlds for the first time in millennia. Trade flourished. Cultures once silenced found voice. Davis began her grandest work, starships meant to travel beyond the galaxy itself. Humanity's destiny was no longer survival. It was exploration. For 6 months, war crime tribunals judged Catherine officers guilty of genocide and slavery. Instead of death, they were sentenced to rebuild the worlds they had scarred. Morrison, hailed as liberator, was elected first president of the Galactic Democratic Alliance. Earth became the capital of interstellar diplomacy. Humanity elevated from prey species to galactic leaders in just 2 years. Carter founded the Interspecies Medical Institute, turning her weapon research into cures that saved millions. 5 years later, the galaxy was unrecognizable, trade thriving, knowledge shared, empires gone. The former Catherine homeworld became a memorial, teaching children of every race the price of tyranny and the power of resistance. Morrison often stood on Earth's defense station, gazing into the stars humanity now guarded. "They called themselves the Alpha Species," he told his staff, thinking strength meant bigger guns and stronger ships. "We showed them what it truly means." The galaxy had learned. True power came not from conquest, but from adaptation, sacrifice, and refusal to surrender. The Catherines had been predators, but humanity proved something far more dangerous. Survivors, builders, guardians of the stars. The war was over. But humanity's greatest adventure was only beginning. The cosmos itself awaited the species that refused to bow.